situation. Usually we're doing it with the governor. Unfortunately, both his and my calendars did not really work out this year. But I think it's a great opportunity for us to have the legislators, who've been key actually in supporting our fire funding, to be able to take this test and learn some of the challenges our firefighters have. You know, obviously the fire shelter test is one that should be taken very, very seriously. It's an issue of sort of last deployment. It's a situation where the fire has bearing down on our firefighters, which we don't like to have, and it's a way for them to protect themselves. It doesn't protect themselves from flames. When serious flames are there, this is not a shelter that will protect them, but it will protect them from smoke as the fire goes over them. This year we are already have seen significant fires. We've responded at our agency to over 900 fires to date. That is a very high level. Around last year at this time it was more around 400 to 500. 28,000 acres have burned. We started out having the highest risk in the nation for wildfires, as we saw in early March, second week in March, where we had 54 fires in 1 week, and it quickly accelerated in the upcoming months. Fortunately, we have been blessed here in July, and most people would not say that we've been blessed in July with the overcast skies and the rain, but for us it has been very welcome to have the moisture we've had, so that we could actually lower the risk of our state for wildfires. We are now at a normal level of risk. And fortunately, we've been able to keep July, much of our fires that we were predicting, at bay. We are still anticipating that August is going to be a very significant fire month, as it usually is, just because we're predicting that we're going to continue to see hot, dry weather. To date, 30% of our fires have been west of the Cascades. It's playing the same kind of situation we saw last year, where 40% of our fires were west of the Cascades. So no part of our state is left untouched to date on fires, and we are still predicting that we're going to have a hot, dry August, and we're going to still see fires, but we are blessed to have overcast skies and rain in July. With that, I want to say thank you to our legislators who are here. Senator Rolfes has been a champion for us, especially this session, where we secured the most significant amount of funding for wildfire and forest health. And it's been an honor to work with you. It's been great to have all of your leadership in helping us really raise the profile of the crisis and how much we need the resources up front to be able to reduce the risk and also ensure that our communities and our forests are healthy. Would you like to say anything?
Yeah, I'll say a few words. I don't know if we all want to. Thank you. Thank you for inviting us here, Hilary. And I want to thank you too for your extraordinary leadership on bringing the whole issue of wildfires to the forefront statewide. It was not a difficult task to convince the legislature to fully fund the commissioner's request to help prevent and suppress wildfires, to avoid all the catastrophic wildfires we've been having. So hopefully with this wetter weather, the department will be able to start to catch up, and over the years we can avoid the catastrophes we've been seeing. But in the meantime, this event, I guess you'd call it, but this exercise that she's putting us through today really highlights, I think for us and for anybody who's watching, and really you media folks should be part of this too, it really highlights how dangerous the job of fighting wildfires is, and the fact that we cannot take it for granted that people are willing to step up and do those jobs. They're putting their lives at risk, they're putting their health at risk, and they're doing that in order to save communities, save homes, save our natural resources. This is just a really, really important job, and it's really important that legislators and the state as a whole are supportive of these efforts. So thank you very much.
I'll just add that it's a heck of a lot more cost effective to prevent it than it is to fight it, and I think we've made a lot of strides in the legislature on that front. And I do want to thank you, Hilary. She has been the most active commissioner that I've seen with our caucus, and working both sides of the aisle to find out what works, what doesn't work. So I just want to say thank you for doing that, and I think that's important in governing in this state, that you work across the lines and have an active role in the people that live and work in those districts that are most affected by it. So thank you for doing that, and look forward to doing this exercise.
Yeah, I echo that too. Thanks for inviting me, and thank you for just coming into my office and being, this is what we need, this is how we're going to do it, this is how we're going to deploy it, and this is how much money we need. Very clear plan, and really thankful for your leadership in that space. I think you've done a great job. And And Drew mentioned, Representative McEwen mentioned that we have made some strides in forest health, but really the cause here is climate change. And we also made a lot of strides this past session in passing legislation that is going to allow our state to reach our emission reduction goals. These fires are, they're what we can expect. I'm planning my vacation by not planning it because I don't know where the fires are going to be. I'm planning my vacation to go where the fires aren't. I happened to have that happen last year. I was in Wyoming, and instead of here when we had the really significant fires, and it was a blessing. And so I'm like, I'm going to do that again. But not everybody in the state has that option to be off the last 2 weeks of August, and we're going to have to deal with that. It's bad for our health. It's bad for our lungs. It's bad for our planet. And it's bad for our future generations, and we have got to take climate change seriously, and we have got to reduce emissions as deeply and quickly as we possibly can, because we don't want this to continue to be the normal. So I appreciate your efforts in that space as well, and hope that we can see more progress in the next session. Really need to address our transportation emissions in a very big way. That's the big nut that our state still has left to crack. So I look forward on working on that. I look forward to working more on forest health. I think there's a lot of opportunities there as well. And I'm really scared to get into that tent because I watched that video and what our firefighters put themselves through and expose themselves to, it really freaked me out when I watched that video to prepare for today. So I really appreciate and thank all of those people who are on the front lines trying to keep our communities safe.
And before you do this, I just want to also add, I know that right now July has been a more regular month actually for us and lower in the number of fires we have. But we have had firefighters up in Alaska over the past couple of weeks, and actually some of them still there today. It's an example of where many of our neighboring states, when we're not on the firing line in our own state, that many of them depend on our firefighters, just as we depend on their firefighters during our tough seasons. It's also an example where Alaska has not historically had wildfires, at least the number that they've had at this time of year, and how we're having changing conditions and how we're all having to respond. And we're going to be needing not only our neighbors throughout the state to be working with us, but also needing our neighboring states to help support us. So for all of those firefighters who are up there and also on the line right now in Grant County, we're wishing them well and keep them safe, and grateful for their service. We're doing the deployment. All right.
So
All right, we're ready.
all four of you to grab all these.
Oh, I don't care. Is this yours?
Oh, yeah.
So if you guys would spread out there,
I took yours and it said VIP.
So we've already thrown off our stuff.
across here and facing the camera.
And you're really not.
Okay.
Okay.
I let my scarf in because
Well, you're supposed to be close.
So everybody watch the film.
I did.
Sometimes this will come out with it, but whatever you end up with, it might be something.
get rid of it. Try not to hit each other.
Get it out of the plastic. You just add the pull, open this, and the two yellow handles are marked right in left hand. Get a good firm grip on those. Hold the plastic and you hold on to it. The secret to doing this is how hard you shake it. The harder you shake it, the more it's going to open. So really give it a good shake to get it open. Step in one end. You want to tap to the shelter because you're going to go down there and close to it. You got in one end and go in together.
And you're holding with your hand to your feet to part down so it doesn't fall.
Is there a foot head or are they both the same?
They're pretty much like that.
Yeah. I think we're
Just so you know, the fire is coming from the Capitol, but there was no intent meant in that.
It's all for the photo.
It's all for the photo,
So
exactly.
everybody ready?
Okay.
Okay, be polite. Be polite. Okay, everybody can get up. Good job.
We should do this on the Capitol floor next time, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,